What if I told you one of the most powerful Civil War movies ever made wasn't really about the Civil War at all? At the center of Shenandoah is a man named Charlie Anderson. He's not a soldier, he's a farmer. All Charlie Anderson wants is to raise his family and live in peace. But history has other plans. Where was the Virginia you see in the movie really filmed? How did the filmmakers create a Civil War army using college students? Which onset injury got written directly into the story? And why does James Stewart's real war record change how this movie feels? These are the top 10 weird facts about Shenandoah. Fact number 10. The farmer at the center of the story. Before we talk about filmmaking, you need to understand Charlie Anderson. He's not a general. He's a farmer. A man who believes a few simple things. Work for what you have, provide for your family, and never exploit other people to get ahead. Charlie Anderson wants nothing to do with the Civil War. Not because he's afraid, but because he believes the war isn't his fight. All he wants is to raise his children and work the land. That belief becomes the moral backbone of the entire movie. And the world he lives in feels completely real. Rolling farmland, quiet valleys, a place that looks like the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. But here's the surprising part. The Virginia you see in the film isn't Virginia at all. Fact number 9. Virginia, that was actually Oregon. The movie is set in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, but most of the outdoor filming took place over 2,500 miles away in Oregon's Mohawk Valley southeast of Eugene. The filmmakers chose the location because it still looked untouched by modern development. Wide farmland, rolling valleys, long horizons. Exactly the kind of scenery that could pass for the 1860s. And when the land looks authentic, the rest of the illusion becomes easier to believe. Next time you watch the film and see those sweeping Virginia alleys, remember you're actually looking at Oregon doubling for Civil War America. But choosing Oregon created a new problem, because a Civil War movie needs more than scenery. It needs soldiers. Fact number 8. The day college students became Civil War soldiers. To populate the battle scenes, filmmakers hired around 200 students from the University of Oregon. 200 uniforms marching across farmland suddenly looks like a war. Instead of bringing in thousands of professional extras, the filmmakers trained local students to march and move like soldiers. From the camera's perspective, it works perfectly. Wide shots create scale, close shots create drama, and suddenly a group of college students becomes a Civil War army. That's how the film built its soldiers, about 200 University of Oregon students. But the students were only the visible part of the operation. Behind the scenes, the production itself was surprisingly massive. Fact number 7. The 150-person production that took over rural Oregon. According to production notes, the filming unit alone included roughly 150 people. That's not a small Western crew. That's practically a traveling town. Camera operators, costume departments, horse wranglers, prop crews, lighting teams, catering and logistics. When that many people arrive in a quiet valley, the film production becomes a temporary village. Everything becomes coordination. Where do you stage horses? How do you move hundreds of extras across farmland? How do you reset uniforms after dusty battle scenes? And once a production that large starts moving, filmmakers begin attempting shots that look simple on screen, but are incredibly complicated to stage. Fact number 6. The Camp Creek Bridge Chase. One chase sequence in the movie was filmed on a bridge in the Camp Creek area of Oregon. On screen it happens quickly, but bridges are extremely difficult filming locations. There's limited space, limited camera angles, and very little room for horses, wagons, actors, and crew. A scene that lasts only seconds in the finished film can represent one of the most complicated days of shooting. And in this case, the production had to go even further. Local records say the filmmakers actually modified a nearby covered bridge so it would look more like something from the Civil War era, then restored it after filming was finished. It's the kind of detail most viewers never notice, but it shows how much work goes into creating even a brief moment of action on screen. But even with careful planning, real life still intrudes on movie sets, which leads to one of the most practical decisions the filmmakers had to make. Fact number 5. The injury they wrote into the movie. During filming, actor Tom Simcox injured his arm. Simcox plays Jacob Anderson, one of Charlie Anderson's sons. Normally, that kind of injury would create serious problems for a production. Continuity issues, scheduling delays, expensive reshoots. But if you watch the film closely, you can actually see the injury on screen. Later in the movie, Jacob Anderson appears with his arm in a sling after being wounded. Most viewers assume that moment was planned. It wasn't. Simcox had injured his arm during filming, and instead of stopping production, the filmmakers made a smart decision. They wrote the real injury into the story. What looks like part of the script was actually a real-world accident that production turned into a plot detail. Most audiences never realize they're seeing a real injury folded into the film, but it's a perfect example of how filmmakers adapt when reality intrudes. And that idea, ordinary life interrupted by forces beyond your control, is exactly what the story explores. Which brings us to the man playing Charlie Anderson. Fact number 4. The real war hero in the movie. James Stewart wasn't just a movie star. He was a World War II combat pilot. Stewart flew 20 bombing missions over Europe during the war. Afterward, he remained in the Air Force Reserve and later rose to the rank of Brigadier General. So when Stewart plays a man who is weary of war, the performance carries real weight. He wasn't imagining the cost of conflict. He had seen it firsthand. And that authenticity makes one quiet moment in the film unforgettable. Fact number 3. The movie that changed its name. During development, the project went through several working titles, including Fields of Honor and Shenandoah Crossing. Eventually, the filmmakers settled on the simplest title, Shenandoah. The word already carried meaning because of the traditional American folk song, "O Shenandoah." The song dates back to the early 1800s and was sung by river traders and voyagers traveling the Missouri River. It's a quiet, reflective song about distance, longing, and home, about people far away from the life they wish they could return to. That tone fits the movie almost perfectly, because Shenandoah isn't really about armies or battlefields. It's about a man who just wants to stay home, raise his family, and live in peace, while a war he never wanted slowly closes in around him. So the title does more than name a place. It echoes the deeper theme of the film, the longing to return to a peaceful life once the storm of history is past. And that emotional core becomes clear in one unforgettable scene. Fact number 2. The dinner table scene everyone remembers. For many viewers, the most memorable moment in Shenandoah isn't a battle. It's a dinner table. Charlie Anderson delivers a grace before a meal that reflects his belief in hard work and independence. He reminds his family that they plowed the fields, they planted the crops, they harvested the food. In other words, they earned what they have. That moment captures the values at the heart of the movie. Work hard, provide for your family, stand on your own feet. And once you understand that moment, you can finally answer the question we started with. Fact number 1. What this movie was really about. Which brings us back to the question we asked at the beginning. What was Shenandoah really about? On the surface, it's a Civil War movie, but the film was released in 1965, the same year the United States was dramatically escalating its involvement in Vietnam. Suddenly, the story of a man who didn't want to fight, who only wanted to protect his family, felt incredibly relevant. But the reason the movie still resonates today goes deeper than that, because Shenandoah isn't really about the Civil War. It's about values, work, family, the belief that a person should earn what they have instead of exploiting others. And the painful truth that when history turns violent, it's ordinary families who pay the price. That message connected deeply with audiences. In fact, the film reportedly broke box office records in Virginia, the very place where the story is set. The Virginia landscape was actually Oregon. The army was built from college students. An injury became part of the story, and a real war hero carried the film's message. But the deeper truth is this. Shenandoah isn't really about the Civil War. It's about what happens when decent people just want to live their lives in peace and the world refuses to leave them alone. And I'm curious about something. What part of Shenandoah stayed with you the most after you first saw the movie? And if you enjoy movies about hardworking people standing up for their values in the face of impossible odds, you might also love another classic Western we covered, The Man from Snowy River. That film is one of the most breathtaking horse chases ever put to screen, and a story about courage, independence, and earning your place in the world. You can watch that video right here.